Room 104. Every school has that one hallway, the one students avoid without knowing why. At Crest Hill High, that place is Room 104. The door has been locked for over 2 decades. The lights above it flicker even when the power is fine everywhere else. No teacher has a key. No class is scheduled there. Ask about it, and faculty will change the subject. Ask again, and they'll pretend the room doesn't exist. But the students remember. They remember the story of what happened in 1998. A substitute teacher, Mr. Keene, was brought in for a history class. 23 students walked into room 104 that morning. Not one walked out. When the janitor finally forced the door open at the end of the day, the room was empty, desks untouched, books closed, a half-written lesson on the board. No one saw them leave. No one ever found out what happened. The school quietly sealed the room. And for years, it stayed silent. Until now. Last week, Junior Amir Malik was accidentally assigned room 104 for study hall. He tried to get it changed, but the system wouldn't let him. The front office denied it was even on his schedule, until he showed them. They went pale. Later that day, Amir found the door to the forbidden hallway unlocked. The overhead lights were already on. And room 104? It wasn't empty anymore. There was chalk writing on the board. A man was standing at the front. He smiled and said, "Take your seat." Then he began calling names Amir didn't recognize. Names that weren't from this year. Names from 1998. Chapter 1, The Roll Call. Amir's class schedule had a room he didn't recognize, room 104, listed as Independent Study, Friday, 2:15 p.m. When he asked around, no one else had it on their schedule. Even the teachers acted confused. But on Friday afternoon, with curiosity outweighing caution, Amir decided to check it out. Down the east wing of the school, past classrooms that hadn't been used in years, he found it. A green metal door with cracked paint and a tiny wire-meshed window. It shouldn't have existed. Not on any map he'd seen. Still, his name was on the list. So he opened the door. Inside, 10 students sat silently in ancient wooden desks. A thin man in a gray suit stood at the front of the room, unmoving. "You're late," the man said, without looking. Sorry. I thought this was an empty class," Amir mumbled. The man pointed to the only vacant desk. Amir sat. The teacher lifted a clipboard and called roll. One by one, names were answered in soft, flat voices. All unfamiliar. Then, Amir Khan. He startled. "Here." The teacher's head tilted slightly. "Welcome." After roll call, nothing happened. No lecture. No assignment. No one even moved. It was like everyone was waiting for something. Amir leaned toward the girl beside him. She didn't acknowledge him. Her eyes were wide, unblinking. He turned to leave. The door was locked. That's when the lights flickered. The windows turned black. The teacher, still smiling, walked to the chalkboard and began to write, not with chalk, but with something dark and wet. The words. "Attendance is forever." Amir's heart pounded. He stood, panicked. This is a joke, right? No answer. Just silence. Then, a desk empty. One student gone. No sound. Just vanished. Another flicker. 2 more desks empty. The others didn't react. Amir kicked the door, it opened. He didn't wait. He sprinted down the hallway, back toward normalcy. Back to the world with sunlight and real people. When he finally looked behind him, room 104 was gone. Only a blank wall remained. Chapter 2, The Names Aren't Dead. When Amir returned home that night, he couldn't sleep. Room 104 hadn't just disappeared, it had never been there. He checked the school blueprint online. The East Wing ended at room 103. No mention of 104. No mention of the teacher. No mention of the students. But he remembered the roll call. The way the names were said. The way they echoed in his head. He opened a notepad and began writing them from memory. Abigail Wren. Cody R. Samantha Giles. Elena D. Marcus Hale. Tessa Lee. Jacob F. Naomi Venn. Amir Khan. He froze. There had been 10 students, hadn't there? One name was missing. He stared at the list. The names felt old, like they belonged in an obituary. He hesitated, then searched the first one online, Abigail Wren. Result, deceased. 2005, age 16. Crest Hill High student. He clicked another name, Marcus Hale. Died in a fire. 2002. Each search brought the same result. Every name he could remember, gone. Except his. His breath caught. He searched his own name. No obituary. No accident. Not yet. The next morning, Amir avoided school. But something compelled him to go to the library. Deep in the archives, he found old yearbooks, dusty, yellowed, some from decades ago. Room 104 wasn't mentioned. But he did find pictures. Class photos. In the margins, names handwritten in pencil. Some were smudged. Some, crossed out. And yet, in a 2005 yearbook, he saw her. Abigail Wren. She smiled faintly in the photo, hair braided, eyes soft. The librarian, Mrs. Keshwar, wandered over. You doing a report on the fire? What fire? She blinked. Room 104. Isn't that what you're looking for? Amir's blood went cold. You know about it? Her face twitched slightly, like something deep inside her didn't want her to answer. You should go home. But. She leaned close, whispering. They don't like being remembered. That night, he had a dream. He sat back in room 104. But the desks were empty, burned. The windows were ash. The teacher stood at the board, writing again. Those who listen, remain. He turned. You heard their names. Amir tried to speak, but no sound came. The door opened, but this time, there was no hallway. Just mist. Floating inside the fog were the students, eyes closed, mouths moving silently. He recognized them. They were still answering roll call. Amir woke gasping. His phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Amir Khan, present. He dropped the phone. From outside his window, he swore he heard someone whisper his name. Not shouted. Not spoken. Just whispered, like an echo from a list that hadn't ended yet. Chapter 3, The Hallway That Loops. Ali didn't go home that night. He wandered the school halls until long after everyone else had left, searching for proof, any proof, that what he'd seen wasn't just a breakdown of his sanity. But the deeper he went into Crest Hill High, the less sense the building seemed to make. He turned a corner near the science wing and found himself back at the west wing. Turned again. Same hallway. Room 104 always at the end. He tried retracing his steps, past the lockers with chipped paint, past the flickering exit sign. Still. Room 104. The school was looping. Or he was. The overhead lights buzzed louder now. The air smelled like copper. The floor tiles beneath his feet began repeating patterns that didn't match what he remembered. each loop of the hallway just slightly wrong. In the third loop, the posters on the walls had changed. No longer motivational quotes. They were student photos. Obituaries. One for Amir Khan. One for Sanaa Malik. One for Ali Hussein. Same face. Same date of birth. Same sad expression. But the date of death was today. He bolted. Running full speed, ignoring the pounding in his head, he took turns at random. Left. Right. Left again. And when he finally stopped to catch his breath, room 104 stood at the end of the hallway. But now the hallway lights were dimmed. The door was open. He felt a pull. Not physical, worse. Like something had reached into his thoughts and started reeling him in from the inside. His footsteps echoed as he approached. Inside the classroom, the chairs were stacked. No students. No Mr. Keene. Only the desk. His desk. It sat alone in the center of the room now. On top was a file folder with his name. He opened it. Inside were photographs, dozens of them, taken from angles he couldn't explain. Him sleeping. Him eating lunch. Him walking alone down the very hallway he now stood in. And one final photo. Of him standing outside room 104, looking directly at the camera. Taken just now. He dropped the folder and backed out of the room. As he turned to flee, the hallway behind him changed. The walls grew taller. The lockers disappeared. The windows vanished. And a mirror replaced the hallway's end. In the reflection, he wasn't alone. Standing behind him, tall, gray, eyes like empty chalkboards, was Mr. Keene. Smiling. And mouthing one word. Stay. Chapter 5, Detention Forever. The final bell never rang. I sat alone in room 104, unable to move. The classroom had emptied without a sound. Mr. Keene stood at the board, motionless, while the walls seemed to breathe. "You stayed," he said. "That means you remember." The chalkboard behind him wrote on its own. "Write your name." I refused. The air turned heavy, the lights dimmed. Desks began to warp, peeling wallpaper revealed ancient symbols glowing faintly red. A piece of chalk rolled to my feet. Mr. Keene's eyes were black voids. "Write it, or forget again." I didn't touch the chalk, yet my name appeared. Andrew Wells. "That's not me," I whispered. "It was," he said. "Last time." Suddenly, the door opened, not into a hallway, but into the same classroom, mirrored and darker. Inside, students who looked exactly like me sat at their desks. One turned and held a paper. "Detention Forever." The desk I had been sitting at changed. It was now a coffin, cracked open with a mirror inside. I looked. I saw myself, pale, hollow-eyed, whispering. "You chose to remember." I tried to run, but the walls shifted. The classroom collapsed into shadow. Then, I woke up. Same room. Daylight. The bell rang. Students filed in like nothing had happened. But the chalkboard still read. "Detention Forever." And beneath it, carved deep into the board, was my name.